I just wanted to at least bring you up and let people see what excellence looks like. So congratulations in advance for all that you've done and all continue to do for this city.
And thank you so much for having me here. I know all of you are making it happen every day and in every possible way for our kids. And I'll tell you just a little bit about myself to start off, and then I hope it's more of a dialogue. But as I say to everyone who listen, I have been Black all my life. I say that because that's a set of experiences that's very real and that shapes me and that I don't run from. And that includes having gone to a segregated, overcrowded, underfunded elementary school that was all Black when I was young, when I was in those early years. And by second grade, literally. And I had both my parents. My father was a Black man who had a PhD from Cornell University in organic chemistry in 1957. I did not come from a family that didn't do all the things parents are told to do to have their kids reading ready and math ready when you send them off to kindergarten. I had been in an experimental nursery school called the lab school before starting kindergarten. And I was 2 years behind grade level by the second grade. And that was not about my parents. That was not about my neighborhood failing me. That was about a system that did not invest in us, right? And I say that because I was also one of the folks, because my parents had resources, because they were highly educated, that they could fix things for me when the system wouldn't. But a big part of what shaped me going to law school, which I did, came to Columbia University, knew I was coming to law school to be a civil rights attorney, wanting to walk in the very large footsteps of Thurgood Marshall and be a racial justice leader, but doing it with the skill sets I thought I had to bring to the table, which was what law was for me. And spent 25 years doing everything from litigating on things like fair education funding to access to healthcare, working for a foundation, setting up a criminal justice initiative in South Africa 5 years after apartheid ended. All kinds of things I've been privileged to do, switching to the policy side because so much of what I was doing as a lawyer was trying to change rules and laws and how things worked so that it would work, for us, so that it would work for our communities and fix the structural racism that we've been living with. And after 25 years, I went into city government because I had been spending so much time telling government as an advocate, as someone who founded an organization called the Center for Social Inclusion, where our mission was explicitly to dismantle structural racism. And we called it structural racism. Literally in the early 2000s, when I was, for all the wrong reasons, we shouldn't have had to be in the streets this past summer for Black Lives, but really, really privileged to be naming it 2 decades, 3 decades before anyone else would call it what it was.
Well, I am Thea Davis, and I serve as Deputy Superintendent in the Bronx. X is up. And my question for you, honestly, I'm deeply invested in our new chancellor who looks like us. Deeply invested in her vision for equity, for disrupting and dismantling, for really focusing on making sure that in these gifted and talented programs that we truly speak to all of our children who are gifted and talented, who look like representatives of the city, which include Black, Brown, and Indigenous people, right?
Yes,
so my question for you, I wanted to lift that up. And my question for you, I'm interested in Misha having not an 8-month run, but a 5-year run or more. And where are you around some of her policies? Because I imagine that she would want to be in alignment with a mayor who believes what she believes for our children.
Yes, well, I was very excited by the appointment. I actually had heard about it, I think the day before the announcement through the grapevine, because I was frankly worried. I was frankly worried. So I was so happy and so pleasantly surprised. And all I can tell you is she represents so much of what I care about for the system that I do want to make clear that I was really excited, that I had a lot of respect for her and for her work before this announcement. from what I'd had the privilege of getting to be in meetings with her and hear from her and know some of her work because of the School Diversity Advisory Group.
That's awesome. And then the last thing I would leave you with, I love what you said, nothing about us without us. So what I offered, we've had other mayoral candidates visit us here in the OSG meetup. When you want to know what's really happening at schools, please talk to the infantry of leadership. Talk to principals, and not just one group who are from all the boroughs, but do a borough to borough tour.
Yeah.
Because principals are facing different challenges. And if you want to know what superintendents are facing, don't just converse with the top of the food chain. Be sure that you get superintendents and deputies in a room and talk with them about their challenges and also the things that are working that they want to show you and celebrate with you. I really think I love that. Nothing about us without us.
We are the ones in the classrooms. We're the ones running the schools. We're the ones changing communities. But very few times are we the one who's brought to the table when it's time to make some decisions.
Yeah.
So you want to talk a little bit about your stance on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's exactly one of the reasons I'm running. First of all, let me say I come from a family that modeled this. My parents as activists and organizers. It's a fundamental principle of organizing in the civil rights community, and the way my father organized Black women who were on welfare is he made those Black women the chair, the board of directors of the organization, Black women who were receiving welfare checks, because the whole philosophy was always that the people who are impacted by the problems are the people who need to be the leaders in the solution, right? And so that would always shaped me. And the thing about being both a lawyer, because your clients are the people directing you, right? And when you're a civil rights lawyer, your clients are the communities you're serving, right? And you have named plaintiffs, but those plaintiffs, those people complaining, are there to represent a community. And so you create a table whereby the community is directing the strategy and has absolute voice and say in what has to be done and how it needs to be done. And when I founded my policy organization, the Center for Social Inclusion, one of the reasons I founded it, co-founded it with a brilliant sister and a dear friend of mine, Jocelyn Sargent, who's a political scientist, was we were saying, you know, we're the way policy advocacy works is wrong, because we're not working at the level, at the ground level, you know, bringing our research, bringing our tools, but to say, these are your tools, you know, so tell us what your priorities are. Tell us what's broken and what has to be fixed. So the reality is, if you want to be successful, and I always want to be successful, because successful for me is about people's lives being better, that it has to be that people get to the opportunity to tell you what the priorities are, what didn't work, what they think will, and really getting deep down and understanding why.
So we are extremely proud of you, Ra. We noticed how hard you've been grinding for months, I know you and I have been, we speak almost every day, and I know your wife has been amazing in carrying you. You know, people get to see Principal Ra, but they don't always get to see like those moments when you know, things get a little bit crazy for you. People look at you and they see you as a rock, you know, but clearly you've been out here pushing your book, pushing this conference, almost dolo until you got with the family who's here to support you 110%, man. Talk to us about the book, man, and what we got to do tomorrow to make sure, and the rest of the week, to make sure that you are a bestseller.
I mean, all that stuff is great, but I just want to say OSG and Dennis and just the Lioness, April, Thea, the whole crew, Jacko, you know, it's just, this village is special, you know what I mean? Because, you know, when you're going through a pandemic, you're going through everything, it's really been special in my life and my family's life. I just want to thank you, Dennis. Thank Ak, because Ak connected it, you know what I mean? So Eric Ak, wherever you at, you know, we ain't gonna give you those flowers, but it's just been, it's just like, this is the group, man. It's a village, man. I just feel love. And anybody that's tapped in, man, it's a real true village. And just from my family to everybody here, you know, just, it's all love. I love you guys, like, cause it's really important. As for the book, man, listen, you know, I don't know, it's just a special moment for this one kid from Compton, man. Just to be an author, to be honest with you, man, because I never thought I was that kid that was failing English class. You know what I'm saying? Like I was, trying to be a rapper.
Just continue to promote it, man. We got your back. We support what you do. We got nothing but love for you, bro. And we know that big things is happening. And like I said, I spend a lot of time with you, and I recognize that with the person that there's still a person inside of you that just wants to be a normal kid. You know what I'm saying? Just wants to be the, sneaker wearing, back hat wearing kind of dude. You know what I'm saying? I know that that's who you want to be, but I recognize that there's a need for you to be revolutionary. And that takes a lot of courage. So I applaud you big time, man. I applaud you big time.
So our affirmation for today is you've got to ask. Sometimes we have the capacity, but we don't have the tenacity to ask for what it is that we want and we need. And this spans across all facets, right? So in our personal lives, there may be something that we want to be stronger with, and when you ask with conviction, ask as if you expect that you're going to get it. As school leaders, we broker deals all the time. We're not afraid to ask. We pour into our school communities. We pour into others. But definitely as it relates to our lives personally, we have to really consider asking, right? Closed mouths don't get fed. And one of the things that Jack Canfield says is that asking is one of the most powerful success principles, but it's a challenge that holds us all back, right? And so oftentimes we're fear of rejection or things of that nature. Just as a quick concrete example, I was a little fearful in that, my portfolio is not as diverse as I wanted it to be, but I just said, look, Principal Ra, you're teaching this class on stock portfolios. Can you help me? And without question, he said, yep, I sure can. So again, don't just have the capacity, have the tenacity, and whatever it is that you need, you've got to ask.
So you all got to know that this young lady is on the verge of actually opening her own charter school in Mount Vernon.
Thank you so much, Dennis. And again, good evening, everybody. So we are proposing Intellectus Prep for the city of Mount Vernon, but it'll be accessible to all of downstate Westchester, as actually anyone in New York, to be honest with you. And so we are focused on when Principal Akbar was talking about that entrepreneurship thing, that hit home for me, because that's one of the things that we're focusing on in ensuring that our kids who graduate have the opportunity to either start a business, go to college, or enroll in trade school. We're coupling that with financial literacy. And then the piece that I'm most excited about is counseling for all. We're going to have mental health professionals that are allowing for our scholars to get counseling on a daily basis, 30 to 40 minutes. And we have it structured. It'll take me a minute to explain it all. And I don't really want to go into too much detail about that. But we've come a very long way. It's been challenging getting a meeting with the superintendent. A lot of, what's out there and the conversations around charter schools, though may be valid, also misses the opportunity to create something completely from scratch that actually meets the needs of the community. And so our application was about 700 pages long. I had to lessen the font to make it fit to just under 600 pages. And we've done a lot of work, a lot of the community work. Thank you to everybody who filled out our support form. We're getting ready now to meet with the Mount Vernon City School District. By law, they have to hold a hearing within 30 days of receiving notice. And so that's happening next Tuesday. And there's two ways really that we need support. One is an email to the district clerk. And then the second one is to show up on our Zoom. The Zoom meeting is only going to be an hour. Actually, he told me today 45 minutes. And he's like, whatever we get done in 45 minutes, that's it. And I said, I'll take it. I'm going to be there and tell, our supporters to show up. They seem to be supportive, wary but supportive of what it is, because the superintendent said to me verbatim, I cannot lie to you, y'all have a niche. I'm not going to give you a hard time. And so I'm excited about that. I'm excited about, what's to come for future students.
We make sure that we know tips for self-care, because self-care is important. And our resident doctor, Dr. D. Nice.
In the house, and ready for you all. Any of you all need any more energy than you actually have right now? I see some hands.
Even though we're smiling, do trust we all do.
Everybody needs some more energy, but do you know where that energy comes from? In our bodies, in each cells, there are mitochondria, and this is not going to be a biology lesson. I'm just going to break it down really simple. Our mitochondria, it takes oxygen and glucose and it turns it into energy, which is called ATP. Our brain has a lot of mitochondria, our muscles has a lot of mitochondria. And unfortunately, some of us are kind of shooting ourselves in the foot because we are doing things that damage the very factories that produce energy. Did y'all hear me? We're doing things that damage the very factory that produces our energy. Let's talk about some of those things. I apologize. I know the lioness don't like to hear me say this, but anything processed foods damages our mitochondria. Anything high in sugar damages our mitochondria. When we overeat, we damage our mitochondria. So there's some things that you could look at. Let me tell you some things that will help your mitochondria though. High intensity interval training. If you're going to be exercising, I won't go into too much detail for it, but if you just Google it real quick, it's a pretty familiar, popular way of exercising where you do short burst followed by periods of rest. Burst followed by periods of rest. We know that high intensity interval training can improve and help your mitochondria. It'll help them even get younger and more be creative. So make sure you're protecting your energy, protect your mitochondria. They're little tiny organelles that require a lot of care, just like the children we teach.
Thank you, Dr. D. Nice.